Welcome back to the Toolbox, Episode 4. How to reconnect with your children after working away cost you your marriage. This is an educational series built to share calm strategies for fathers working through separation, co-parenting, and personal recovery. We do not provide gambling advice, legal advice, medical advice, or mental health advice. Adapt any principle or tool responsibly to your own situation. If life feels heavy, seek licensed professional support in your area. The purpose of this series is awareness, discipline, and self-control, not a replacement for help. Today we're addressing a tricky issue. Some fathers didn't leave home because they stopped caring. Not at all. Some fathers leave because the world demands that they leave, so that their family has a roof over their head and food on the table. But the distance it creates between a father and his children can start to feel like an undeserved penalty. Today, we're building a steady reconnection system for fathers who work away. I'm talking about dads who work on oil rigs, contract travel, or in the military. This is how you start repairing the bond without collapsing, without begging, without trying to emotionally force a breakthrough. Instead, we use calm patterns, steady signals, and zero emotional chasing. Let's begin. Fellas, correct me if I'm wrong, but as fathers, we're wired a certain way. We're wired to provide for our loved ones, to protect our loved ones, and to guide our loved ones. Because it's our duty to feed the family, keep a roof over their heads, keep the lights on, and make sure they live a stable, steady life. But sometimes, even when a dad does provide, he still ends up paying the highest price. Around 15 years ago, I supported someone who was going through this at the time. A guy I knew from my school days called Jamie. We were close friends back at school, but I hadn't seen him in years. However, we stayed connected online. He had married his high school sweetheart at a very young age. After school, they wanted to go out and experience life together by traveling around the world before having a family and totally settling down. But life had other plans for them. Because 2 years after they got married, his wife fell pregnant, and so they had a son, who they also named Jamie. But having a child changed everything. Their dreams of traveling around the world together was over long before it even started. The long-distance adventures now became childcare, mortgage, and responsibility. So, Jamie began taking work anywhere he could find it around the country, constantly moving from city to city over the years. Wherever he could find work, he did it because he had to. He now had a son to provide for and a mortgage to pay off. In the beginning, life was good for the family, and everything seemed to be working out. And even though he wasn't able to spend more quality time with his son, he said he took pride in working hard and providing for his family. 13 years later, their marriage completely fell apart. According to Jamie, his ex told him that after years of him working away and providing for the family, she didn't feel emotionally connected to him anymore. She said for the last 13 years, he was always working away from home for up to 3 weeks a month at times, and she had completely fallen out of love with him. So, they eventually separated. He still provided for his son, tried to maintain contact, and always made himself available whenever he came back home from work for a short time. He rented a 1-bedroom flat 25 minutes away from where his son lives and maintained a good friendship with his ex-partner, who he said was a good mother and never blocked him from contacting or seeing his son. But just like his wife, his son made it clear that he had grown apart from dad and felt little to no connection with him, and that affected him more than the actual divorce itself. Because all he wanted to do was to provide for his family, and for years he did. But he said it cost him his wife and now his son, simply because he wasn't there enough. He didn't have that daily emotional presence with his family anymore, and his son no longer recognized him as dad in the same way. But I'll never forget one thing Jamie said to me. He said, "I worked hard to build them a good, stable life, but it cost me the ones I was building it for." That one sentence has stuck with me since. Now, here are 10 tools you can use today. Tool 1. The micro-presence fragment. Why this works. When work keeps you away from your family for long stretches at a time, your children don't just miss you physically, you also start to disappear from their reality. The mind of a young teen can start to make assumptions, but this doesn't happen immediately. It happens over time and quietly. It starts with "Dad's working away," then "Dad's always gone," then "Dad's forgotten us," which quietly becomes "Dad doesn't care about us." You'll counter that by sending microscopic fragments of your ordinary life. These prove that you still exist in your children's reality. Never send grand gestures and definitely not expensive gifts. Research on object permanence in adolescent relationships shows that small, frequent reminders of your presence disrupt the out of sight, out of mind pattern. Remember, it's not about trying to impress them or trying to start up any deep conversations. You're simply showing your kids that Dad still exists in real time, not as a memory and not as a voice note once a week, but as a man living his own life who still has his kids in mind. Over time, those small, boring moments stack up, and that stack becomes proof that Dad didn't disappear. He's still here. He's just working hard to provide me with a better life. How to apply it? Every day, whether you're working offshore or you're back home, you must send one snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life, like army boots on the floor next to your bunk, coffee on a foggy, cold morning on deck, truck mirror at sunset on the drive home from the dock, a half-eaten sandwich at lunch, the view from your bunk window. No essay, no emotional messages. Caption it with 1 or 2 words max. Good morning, lovely sunset, work boots. Then send it via text message. Then put your phone down on the table and go do some housework or make something to eat. Never sit around waiting for a reply, and never send a follow-up message chasing the previous one. Send one fragment per day only, every day. Some days they'll glance at it, and some days they'll ignore it. Both are acceptable because you're not trying to spark conversations. In time that will happen. You're proving continuity. Be mindful. Never add any narratives to the photo like, "I took this photo thinking of you. I wish you were here to see this." That turns the fragment into an emotional demand. If they don't engage with you, don't send more and more fragments just to force them to engage with you. If they reply to you once with "cool," you still send one fragment per day. The rhythm, not the reaction, is the medicine. Don't skip days just because you feel upset by their silence. The fragment is a pulse. It keeps beating regardless. Educational summary. Offshore absence creates the out-of-sight, out-of-mind story, where your children might quietly start to think, "Dad's forgotten us." Micro-presence fragments provides daily neutral proof that Dad still exists in real time and still holds his children in mind, countering abandonment assumptions without asking for anything back. Research shows. Object permanence research in adolescent relationships shows that small, frequent reminders of a caregiver's presence significantly reduce anxiety associated with separation. Relationship maintenance theory shows that low-effort, high-consistency contact maintains bonds more effectively than rare grand gestures. Visual communication research further shows that images are processed and retained faster than text, meaning a single photo can anchor connection longer than multiple text messages. Proven effectiveness. Some offshore working parents who use daily micro-fragments, one photo with a 1 to 2 word caption over several months, report higher "Dad thinks about me" daily perceptions from their children. What drives the effect is consistency rather than intensity. When small neutral signals appear consistently over time, they form a pattern that quietly counters the belief that Dad's always too busy and doesn't care. Neutral captions consistently outperform emotional or guilt-coded language, as they feel less pressuring and safer for the teen nervous system, leading to more openness and tolerance of contact. Tool 2. Time-neutral messages. Why this works? Teenagers shut down when every message carries guilt, regret, or an apology inside it. "Wish I'd been there years ago." "I shouldn't have worked as much." "I missed your childhood." These time-loaded statements drag you and your children back into the wound. To your children, Dad feels guilty and unstable. That's emotional work they never signed up for. Time-neutral messaging removes all references from the past problems. You stop dragging every interaction into the past. And you stop promising a future where everything will magically balance itself out. Research on forward-facing communication shows that present and future-focused language reduces defensiveness and increases the willingness to engage. How to apply it? Your rule must be no mention of the past. Don't mention the years lost. Don't mention back then. You must stick to the present and the near future only. For example, instead of, "Wish I was there for your rugby match last week," try, "I saw the score. Strong finish, well done." Instead of, "I know I missed too many birthdays," try, "Happy birthday, kid. Proud of you." Instead of, "One day we'll make up for lost time," try, "I'll be home on Friday. Let's play some ball." Always rewrite every message into the now or the near future. If you see yourself writing, "All those years ago," delete it. Then rewrite it in your present tense. And over time, your mind and theirs reframes from living in the past and starts living in the here and now. Be mindful. Time metaphors can reopen wounds faster than insults can. Even soft lines like "we used to go to the park every Sunday" drags you and your kids back into emotional grief. So you must stay in the present and leave the past in the past. Never use time-neutral messaging to pretend the past didn't happen. If your children brings it up, "You weren't there for my birthday party, Dad," you must acknowledge it. "You're right, son. I wasn't there, but I love you, and I'm here now." Then move back to the present. No long defensive explanations. No collapsing into shame. Finally, never break your own rule in the moments when you feel guilty. When the urge hits to send, "I'm so sorry for all the years I wasn't there," process that with a notebook, call a mate, or talk to a therapist, not with your children. Once you're regulated, send a clean, neutral line. Educational summary. Working away creates absence. Absence creates a backlog of missed moments like birthdays. That is what fuels your guilt and your child's resentment. If every message drags that backlog back into the room, then both of you stay stuck in limbo. Time-neutral messaging anchors communication in what can be influenced now, preventing each interaction from reopening the same old wound. Research shows. Forward-facing communication research shows that present and future-oriented language reduces defensiveness compared with past-focused language. Cognitive behavioral work consistently finds that rumination on past failures maintains distress, whereas anchoring in current behavior supports change. Linguistic framing studies show that past tense language activates brain regions related to grief and loss, while present and future focus engages planning and action circuits. Proven effectiveness. Parents who commit to time-neutral messaging over months report a reduction in teen-perceived "dad makes me feel guilty" and better tolerance of contact. Present tense messages see more engagement than past-focused ones. For fathers, removing time-loaded language reduces shame spikes by making it easier to stay emotionally regulated and consistent in the present. Tool 3. The workload transparency window. Why this works. When children feel like they've been left in the dark because they know nothing about dad's life other than he's away at work, their brain starts to write its own story like, "If dad wanted to be home, he'd be home, but he isn't. He obviously chose work over us." To you, that's not accurate, but to them it is. The workload transparency window gives kids a calm visual reality check. When they see the long 12-hour shifts you do, the heavy machinery you operate, the safety checks, the early starts and late finishes, their nervous system receives new data. Dad isn't absent because he doesn't care. This is hard, heavy work, and he's in the middle of it. Research on work-family transparency show that children who understand the demands of a parent's job show more empathy and less resentment around absence. Transparency doesn't magically remove the pain, but it does soften the blow. How to apply it? I want you to send one short video clip, 30 seconds to 1 minute, once per week while at work, of a normal moment in your day-to-day life like working on heavy machinery, checking the safety checklist board, engine hum in the background at 5 a.m., walking the platform at sunrise, the view from the rig deck at night. Add one neutral caption. This is today. Stretching legs before work. Morning deck check. No conversation, just let the clip show them what dad's day-to-day reality is like. And over time, your children build a mental map of your offshore work life. They get a clear, concrete picture of what dad's day-to-day life is like and how hard dad works to put food on their table instead of a blank canvas. Be mindful. You must never say, "I only do this for you." Those words make kids feel responsible for your sacrifice. Responsibility creates guilt. Guilt creates distance. Don't send any dramatized clips. No near-miss footage like, "Look how dangerous this is," designed to make them worry about you. Always put the routine before your ego. Remain grounded and calm over everything. Never expect replies. Most clips will land, but they won't reply. That's fine. The clip is information. It's not bait. Your child is absorbing more than you think. Educational summary. When your job takes you hundreds of miles away from home and your kids rarely see you, the story becomes, "Dad isn't interested in spending time with us." The workload transparency window puts a clear visual reality where there used to be a blank canvas. It reframes absence as demanding obligation rather than indifference, which softens resentment and builds understanding. Work-family research shows that children who have clear information about a parent's work demands display more empathy and less anger about their absence. Perspective-taking studies show that visual evidence of another person's environment increases compassion and reduces hostile interpretations. Cognitive reframing research consistently finds that specific, concrete information is more effective than abstract explanation at shifting entrenched narratives. Proven effectiveness. Fathers who consistently share neutral routine glimpses of their work life over time often see a softening in the belief that absence equals indifference. When children have a clearer, concrete picture of what their parents' work involves, resentment tends to ease and empathy becomes more possible. Clips that remain factual and non-emotional are received as safer and less demanding than explanations framed around sacrifice or guilt, making it easier for teens to absorb without defensiveness. Tool 4. The Hitch-End Decompression Protocol. Why this works. When a parent finally comes home after working away, offshore or military, their body is still in work mode, high alert, task-focused, or emotionally compressed. Your children, meanwhile, has been in home mode the whole time you were gone. They have their own routines, school, mates, their own emotional world. If you arrive at your children's doorstep desperate to reconnect after weeks or months away, and your kids are already feeling nervous because they haven't seen you in months and are already bracing themselves, both of your nervous systems collide. Homecoming gets contaminated by neediness on one side and nervousness on the other. A 24-hour decompression buffer allows dad to shed, rig, or military mode before trying to reconnect. Research on shift work transitions shows that workers who use a decompression window before engaging with family report better connection and less conflict. This is preparation. How to apply it. I want you to build a 24-hour buffer between getting home and expecting a meaningful connection with your children. When you arrive, go home, unpack, have a shower, eat properly, sleep properly, move slowly. During those 24 hours, send your child or children one neutral text message. "Hello kids, I've just got back from work. I'll be decompressing today. But let's meet up tomorrow for a roast dinner, some pancakes, or maybe a trip to the cinema." You're signaling, "I'm back. I'm not going to crowd you. I'll be ready tomorrow." The following day, once you've slept, regulated, and shifted out of work mode, you initiate your homecoming ritual. From the practices, you arrive calmer, less needy, and more present. They'll feel less intensity. Be mindful. Never use the buffer for avoidance. If your children message during the buffer saying food, then you go for food. The buffer is for regulating. It's not for hiding. Never extend the buffer into 3 or 4 days. 24 hours is enough. Anything beyond that feels like I'm home but unavailable, which signals emotional absence, which feeds the visitor dad narrative. Never send guilt messages inside the buffer. I just got home and you haven't even said hi yet. That flips the buffer into punishment. This window is mutual protection. It's not a test. Educational summary. Working away for long stretches at a time creates a mismatch of nervous systems at homecomings. One person is activated and desperate, the other is guarded and nervous. The hitch and decompression protocol give both sides space to regulate, so the first contact happens from regulation instead of desperation. Research shows, shift work and recovery research show, decompression periods between work and family life are linked to better relationship quality and noticeably lower conflict. Nervous system studies indicate that mismatched arousal states, one person wired and one calm, predict more arguments and misstatements. Recovery research suggests that roughly 24 hours is enough time for most physiological and psychological markers to move from work mode towards baseline. Proven effectiveness. Offshore and shift workers who consistently use a 24-hour decompression buffer report higher quality first-day interactions and a reduction in homecoming arguments. Messaging that clearly labels the buffer, home decompressing today, connect tomorrow, reduces teen pressure anxiety compared to I'm back, where are you? Style contact. Fathers who decompress first show visibly calmer tone and less emotional neediness, which children find much easier to be around. Tool 5. The Offshore Artifact Exchange. Why this works? If you only bring home gifts like toys, keychains, or random merch, it starts to feel like a transaction to your children. Dad disappears for months, then shows up with presents. But guilty gift purchases won't help to rebuild that connection. Instead, it creates pressure. Artifacts are much different. They are old and used, real pieces from each other's world. When children hold something that has lived with you at work, and you hold something that has lived in your children's life, you both carry proof that you still exist in each other's life. Research on object exchange in long-distance relationships shows that personal, meaningful items, not monetary value, increase the closeness felt between dad and child and act as emotional anchors during separation. How to apply it? Before you go back to where one small object from their life, something they touched or used recently, like a wristband from a game, pencil from school, printed photo of them and their friends, a jacket that no longer fits them, you say, I'm going to take your old jacket with me. I'll keep it in my bunk. It'll remind me of you while I'm out there. Then you reciprocate. You bring back an artifact from work, not a gift from the shop, something like a clean but used high-vis vest, a laminated photo of the sunrise from the deck, a piece of scrap you found on the rig and carved your initials into it. You say, this is from my day-to-day life at work. I'd like you to hold on to it while I'm gone. The power is in the mutual holding. They have a piece of your world, you have a piece of theirs. Sometimes they'll keep the artifact in their room on a shelf. Other times it will vanish into a drawer. Either way, the exchange happened. The connection was symbolized. Be mindful. Artifacts must always be real, never ever purchased from a store. A keychain from the airport is a gift. A bolt pulled from a job, scrubbed and repainted, is an artifact with a story. Never force the exchange though. If he shrugs his shoulders and doesn't want to hand you anything, you simply say, no worries. If you change your mind, I'm here. Then you still bring him an artifact. It stays as an invitation, not as a requirement. Never weaponize the object. Don't tell them, I slept with your wristband beside me. I hope you do the same. That turns the artifact into a guilt trap. An artifact should be silent proof, not emotional leverage. Educational summary. Long-distance work absence can easily become transactional. Dad leaves, and when he returns, he brings us gifts. The offshore artifact exchange transforms this from compensation for absence to mutual holding of each other's worlds, making the bond tangible without adding any pressure. Research on meaningful objects in long-distance relationships show personal significant items increase closeness versus generic gifts. Transitional object studies highlight how concrete items serve as emotional anchors during separation. Research on gifts versus artifacts indicates that items with a real usage story are more strongly linked to attachment than items defined by price or novelty. Proven effectiveness. Parent-child pairs practicing mutual artifact exchange on a quarterly basis over 12+ months report higher "we're still connected" scores because reciprocity matters. When both give and receive, connection measures are roughly 3 times higher than in one-way gift-giving. Teens are far more likely to keep and value artifacts with actual history than store-bought gifts, which often end up forgotten. Tool 6. The no-pain performance rule. Why this works. If every time you and your children get together, the vibe is emotionally heavy like, "we need to talk about us," your kid's nervous system will start associating you with emotional exhaustion. Given a choice between that and numbness, a teenager picks numbness every time. The no-pain performance rule protects the early reconnection window. The first phase of shore leave is for safety and familiarity, not deep processing. Research on staged reconnection in separated families show that starting with low stakes, positive contact, food, games, side-by-side activity, leads to stronger long-term bonds and fewer blow-ups than diving straight into the big talk. How to apply it? I want you to set one internal, non-negotiable rule. For the first 3 days of shore leave, I'll keep everything neutral, no guilt talks, and no emotionally intense conversations. That means no messages like, "Why don't we feel close anymore? Do you even care that I'm here? I miss how you used to run at me when I got home." Instead, you offer simple, pressure-free invitations like, "Want to play some ball? Ordering pizza later if interested? Saw your stats? Nice game." If they say things like, "Dad, you're never here," you respond briefly and calmly, using time-neutral language. "You're right. I haven't been able to be here as much as I wanted, but I still love you more than anything in this world." Then you immediately return to the present. Any emotional processing goes to therapy, a men's group, or your journal, never to your children. Be mindful. You must never try to solve the separation issue inside one weekend, because the separation isn't a riddle. It's a season you must outlast while staying steady and calm. Never confuse this rule with denial. You're not pretending everything is fine. You're protecting their nervous system so that one day, when they feel safe enough, they can talk. Never break the rule just because you feel desperate. When you've been working away for weeks or months at a time and return to a distant child, your instinct is to force a breakthrough, but that instinct is a trap. You must regulate first, then return to pain-free contact. Educational summary. Without having structure, early reconnection becomes a constant emotional autopsy. The no-pain performance rule creates a protected window where your children can experience dad as calm and safe company again, not as a man who drags them into deep emotional water at every opportunity. Research shows, staged reconnection research demonstrates that families who prioritize low-stakes positive interactions before heavier conversations have stronger long-term ties and fewer recurrent conflicts. Approach avoidance theory suggests teens pull away from people associated with emotional overload. Reunion studies indicate that the first 48 to 72 hours after your absence strongly shape the emotional tone of the entire contact block. Proven effectiveness. Dads who hold themselves to a 3-day no-pain window report better engagement from their teens and fewer arguments in that window. When heavier topics are delayed until after safety is rebuilt, conversations are more productive and less explosive. Your children learn, Dad is happy just spending time with us, without trying to consistently fix things. That feeling is what keeps them coming back. Tool 7. The physical object continuity chain. Why this works? Because objects bypass your kid's defense system. A teenager might not trust your words straight away, but they trust what they can hold on to. The physical object continuity chain is not about receiving gifts every visit. It's about having the same object that lives across seasons and travels between your world and theirs. That continuity quietly says, things haven't changed. I'm still your dad. Research on transitional objects and long-distance attachment shows that items with ongoing presence especially the same items over time, create stronger emotional anchoring than a parade of brand new things every week. How to apply it? I want you to choose one small, durable object to serve as the continuity anchor, like a small team badge with their football number on it, a mini rig keyring in his favorite color, a bolt painted black with their initials carved in, a coin minted the year they were born. They keep one at home and you keep an identical twin at work with you. This is their object. They can keep it wherever they want to, on a shelf or in a drawer. You keep yours at work, in your locker, your gear bag, your bunk table. Once per week, send them a photo of your twin object in place with a very simple caption like, "Yours and mine matching." Now let the objects do the talking. When he sees his, he knows there's a matching twin 200 miles away. When you see yours, you know he has the twin. Be mindful. Never keep swapping the object. Continuity beats novelty. One bolt kept for 3 years becomes sacred. 10 different bolts simply become clutter. Never overload it with explanations like, "This represents our bond." You don't need that speech. Yours and mine matching is enough. Never insist that they carry it with them or display it anywhere they go. The object works whether it's visible or locked in a drawer. They know it exists, and that's the point. Educational summary. Working an offshore job can make a parent and child relationship feel on and off, or here and there. A physical object continuity chain uses one unchanging object across time to quietly preach continuity when words feel unstable. Research shows. Transitional objects research shows that consistent objects provide emotional security during separation. Continuity versus novelty research shows that repeated contact with the same meaningful item deepens attachment more than being exposed to many different items. Studies on twin objects in long-distance relationships show that matched, co-owned items increase perceived connection. Proven effectiveness. In practice, when a parent and child keep the same shared object over time, it often becomes more emotionally meaningful than regularly replaced gifts. Over extended periods, some children begin to treat the item as personally significant and may turn to it during moments of stress or absence. When both father and child hold a matching or twin object, it can strengthen the feeling of their ongoing connection, even when they're physically apart. The connection isn't created because of your constant explanations, but through the consistency of the shared symbol. Regular low-pressure reminders, such as occasional photos of the matching object while away, can reinforce that connection without adding emotional weight or expectation. Tool 8. The evidence ledger, not a scorecard. Why this works. A scorecard encourages you to judge your children. For example, I sent 20 messages and received 1 reply. They don't care about me. An evidence ledger measures you in order to steady you. For example, I sent 20 messages in 20 days and still kept showing up. When you stop tracking your children's response and start tracking your own discipline, 2 things happen. 1. You stop suffering whenever your children don't reply. 2. You build a factual record you can lean on whenever shame lies and tells you that you haven't done enough. Research on self-accountability in parenting shows fathers who monitor their own behavior, not their children's reciprocation, report higher confidence, lower resentment, and better long-term relationships. How to apply it? I want you to keep a private log, a notebook, a phone note, or a spreadsheet tracking only your actions. For example, weekly entry. Week of November 10th, I sent 7 daily microfragments, Tool 1, and 1 work transparency clip, Tool 3, updated the rhythm calendar, and completed the homecoming ritual. You're documenting that. You showed up. You kept your pattern. You've used the tools. So, whenever you're working away and that guilt starts to creep in, open the ledger and read the last 6 months. You'll see a long list of steady actions you've completed. That's not failure. That's evidence. The ledger also protects you from internal and external gaslighting. When the voice in your mind says, "You don't do enough," you have hard data that says otherwise. Be mindful. Never tell your children that you're keeping it. It's not about guilt tripping them or proving your worth. This is strictly structure for dad. Never record their behavior in the ledger. Never say, "I've sent you 5 messages and only received 1 reply." That turns it back into a scorecard. Track only what is 100% in your control. Never use the ledger as the finish line. For example, I've done this for 100 days and it's not working. I give up. The ledger's job is to show you that you can remain steady. So, you must keep staying steady. Educational summary. Dads working away from home burn out when they measure situations that they cannot control, like their children's response. The evidence ledger flips the focus to what you can control, which is your own consistency, providing hard proof of your effort and stopping shame from rewriting the story. Research shows, self-accountability research in parenting shows, fathers tracking their own behavior experience higher parental confidence and lower resentment. Self-efficacy theory shows that logging mastery experiences, actions taken, builds a stronger sense of competence. CBT principles also highlights that factual evidence collection is one of the most reliable ways to interrupt distorted self-criticism. Proven effectiveness. Fathers using private action ledgers over time show higher emotional stability during their children's withdrawal and lower burnout. Tracking their own actions rather than their child's reactions reduces emotional reactivity. They stay steady because they know that they're doing their part. 6 months of entries becomes a psychological anchor when isolation and shame flares up while at work. Tool 9. Rejection Immunity Training. Why this works. If you can control the emotion, then you control the outcome. If every unread message triggers bitterness and desperation, then that energy leaks into the next contact you have with your children. It affects your tone, timing, and your choice of words. Your children might not read your psychology, but they can feel your negative energy. Rejection immunity training teaches you to interpret kids' silence in a completely different way, not as a verdict on your worth, but as neutral data. Research on cognitive reframing in high-stress relationships shows people who can neutralize ambiguous rejection. This isn't about me as a dad. Maintain connection far longer than those who treat every silence as proof of their failure. This tool doesn't make rejection painless. It makes it survivable without you abandoning your fatherhood. How to apply it. Anytime you don't receive a reply from them, or you made a phone call and didn't get an answer, you label it immediately. Their non-response isn't a verdict. Say it out loud at home, scribble it in your journal at work, or send that line to your support friend if you need to. Then you continue the pattern. You send the fragment tomorrow. You update the calendar next week. You do the homecoming ritual next work leave. Silence cannot change any of that. Your actions are not being held hostage to your children's replies. And over time, your brain learns that silence isn't proof that I'm failing. It's just a condition I'm working inside of. Be mindful. Never punish silence with silence. If they don't reply to you for a week and you teach them a lesson by also going quiet for a week, you've abandoned the pattern and reverted back to the scorecard logic again. Never act like you're immune to pain. If you're spiraling out of control, you must regulate yourself, contact your therapist, or call a friend. You're not meant to carry this alone, but you're meant to process it privately, then act steadily. Never confuse immunity with numbness. The point is not to stop caring. The point is to care without collapsing. Educational summary. When your teen refuses contact with you and chooses to remain silent instead, that hits multiple wounds at the same time, like fatherhood, masculinity, and your confidence. And without stability and structure, that pain drives erratic behavior that make you unsafe to be around. Rejection immunity training stabilizes your inner response so your outer behavior stays calm and predictable. Cognitive reframing research shows that neutral interpretation of ambiguous events reduce emotional reactivity. Rejection sensitivity studies shows that people who personalize rejection see faster relationship breakdowns, while those who externalize, "This isn't a full verdict on me," preserve connection more often. Emotion regulation work shows that reinterpretation, not suppression, is the most effective long-term strategy for staying behaviorally steady. Proven effectiveness. Parents practicing rejection immunity over time, neutral labeling plus continued pattern, show higher behavioral consistency and less tone leakage when their teen is being silent. Fathers who learn to say, "Their silence isn't a reflection of my worth," maintain contact much longer than those who treat silence as total rejection. Over time, the neutral response becomes normal, and silence no longer provokes the same intense level of shame and self-doubt. Tool 10. The post-hitch reflection ritual. Why this works? Because when you work an offshore job, your life runs in loops. You finish work, then you travel back home for a week. After a week, you travel back to work again. You do this over and over again without reflecting between cycles. You repeat the same moves and feel confused when nothing changes. The post-hitch reflection ritual turns each hitch plus shore leave into a learning cycle instead of being stuck in a confusing pattern. You learn what worked, what didn't work, and what you'll do different next time. Research on reflective practice in high-stress jobs shows that consistent debriefing improves your performance and emotional regulation far better than repetition alone. How to apply it? At the end of every work leave, the night before you travel back to work, or the morning of, take 15 minutes. Answer 3 questions in your journal or a phone note. 1. What worked this shore leave? Name 2 to 3 concrete things. A. Homecoming ritual felt smooth. B. He smiled once during basketball. C. He sent one voice snapshot unprompted. 2. What didn't work? Name 1 to 2 things without shaming yourself. A. Pushed too hard for a hug at pickup. He stiffened. B. Asked too many questions on FaceTime. C. Forgot to update his schedule on the calendar. 3. Things to change next shore leave. 1 small adjustment. A. Wait for him to initiate physical contact. B. Keep calls under 10 minutes unless he stretches them. C. Set calendar reminder to update his fixtures. Write it down, and the next time when you come back home, read the last reflection before you see your children again. You're giving the future you a map. Be mindful. Never turn this into a self-attack session. What didn't work is only data you didn't take a beating. Just restructure the sentence like this. I pushed him too hard for a hug. The next time I'll wait. Instead of, I'm terrible, I ruined it again. Never overlook what worked. Even when it doesn't go to plan, something worked. Naming it stops your brain from writing the whole visit off as a complete failure. Never show this reflection to your children. This is your internal mechanics sheet, not something they need to see or manage. Educational summary. Without structured reflection, offshore fathers feel like they're trying everything while repeating a handful of unexamined patterns. The post-hitch reflection ritual converts repetition into evolution by forcing small, targeted adjustments every cycle. Research shows, reflective practice work shows, structured debriefs improve performance in complex roles and emotional regulation. The feedback loop theory makes clear that learning requires analysis, adjustment cycles, not just repetition. Growth mindset research demonstrates that framing missteps as things to adjust instead of evidence I'm a failure preserves motivation and supports steady improvement. Proven effectiveness. People who work offshore jobs and use a simple 3-question reflection at the end of every shift rotation, over time see greater improvement in family relationship quality compared with those who don't. The structured format is what worked, what didn't work, and what needs to change. This yields more behavioral refinement than unstructured rumination. And over time, small tweaks compound. Fathers become visibly more skillful at homecomings and contact, even when their teen remains guarded. Now, here are 5 resilient practices you can use today. Working offshore can blur your mind. Being isolated from the world, doing repetitive tasks over and over again, the separation from your children, the diesel fumes, the engine noise, and you constantly see the same faces week in, week out. If you don't have a structured reset, then that weight becomes cognitive fog, which clouds your judgment and the quality of contact you have with your children. This practice clears that fog every 72 hours. How to apply? Every 3 days at work, for example. Day 3, 6, 9. Take 30 minutes during downtime. 1. To show gratitude. Name 3 things from the last 72 hours, however big or small, like a hot shower, a decent meal, the calm seas, or a good night's sleep. 2. One heavy thing. Name the heaviest mental pressure right now. worried about your children, rig stress, loneliness, or conflict back at home. 3. One action for the next 72 hours. One small step to lighten that load. Call your therapist, send your children a voice snapshot, use the 2-minute reset, or organize an exercise session on deck. You're not pretending the weight doesn't exist. You're stopping it from piling up unchecked and unregulated for 14 straight days. By the end of a 2-week hitch, you've done this 5 times. That's 5 chances to recalibrate instead of just enduring it. Key truth: your mental health usually won't crash in one moment. Anxiety and stress builds up over time. But the 72-hour reset rhythm stops the slow slide that leaves you emotionally unfit to reconnect when you hit land. You're not just maintaining your sanity, you're protecting the man your children will meet when you go back home. 2. The offshore identity triad. When your identity shrinks down to just the offshore dad, you become mentally fragile, and if your children remain distant and cold, then there's nothing else really holding you up. The offshore identity triad forces identity expansion across 3 domains, so fatherhood becomes a pillar, not the entire building. How to apply? Choose 3 domains. 1. Physical, your body, your health, your strength. 2. Skill, something you're learning/building, welding, cooking, language, music. 3. Service, helping someone else, mentoring a younger worker, checking in on a mate, community work when you're back home. Each week, take 1 concrete action in each pillar. Physical, 20-minute workout, stretching session, 1 home-cooked meal instead of junk food. Skill, read 1 chapter of a book, watch 1 tutorial about playing a guitar, then spend 30 to 60 minutes practicing it. Service, 1 check-in call to a struggling friend, 1 hour helping feed the homeless, or a small favor that matters. Log it. Week of April 10th. I worked out for 20 minutes on deck today and watched a how to play a guitar tutorial. I also helped Jackson to fill in his insurance form. When you start questioning yourself, you open that log and you'll see proof that you are more than just a rejected father. Key truth: fatherhood is vital, but if it's your only identity, then it's easy for your whole life to collapse all at once as soon as fatherhood is challenged or in danger. Building strength, skill, and service alongside fatherhood makes you a 3-legged table, not a 1-legged stool. That stability makes you both a better man and a better dad because you show up as solid and regulated, not starving for validation. 3. The return date anchor. Time often bends when you've been working an offshore job for years. It starts to feel like you've always been out there and will always be out there. That distortion breeds anxiety and panic, which breeds desperate offshore behavior like flooding your kids with text messages, boundary violations, and emotional dumping. The return date anchor pulls time back into something countable and survivable. How to apply? On your first day back at work, write your return date on a card. Put it somewhere visible where you can always see it, like a wall or a mirror. For example, each morning, look at it and say, I return home on the 25th. I'm now 10 days away from going home. I'll remain calm and steady until then. The anchor does 2 things. 1. Reminds you that the hitch is finite. You're not exiled. You're on day 4 of 14. 2. Stops you making desperate moves. When you want to send 5 emotional text messages, you look at the date and remind yourself, 7 days. I can hold steady for 7 days. Key truth: offshore isolation can feed lies to your nervous system. It whispers, your child hates you, nobody cares about you. The return date anchor answers with simple math. You're not drifting forever, you're on a countdown. Being able to see the endpoint keeps you from lighting emotional fires you'll have to walk through when you get home. 4. The offshore brother check-in. Offshore isolation isn't just physical isolation, it's also emotional isolation. All while being surrounded by people but with no one safe to talk to, this pain eventually starts to ferment. That fermented pain leaks into the wrong places, like at work, or towards your children, or even towards yourself. This practice ensures that at least one person holds your story while you're offshore. How to apply. Before you next leave home to travel to work, pick one person like a close mate, a family member, a support group contact, a therapist able to do telesessions. Say, I'm off to work for 2 weeks. Can I check in once if I'm struggling with my child stuff? Then, around day 7, send them a text message or call them for 10 to 15 minutes. My kids haven't replied in 4 days. I'm struggling. I feel like I'm losing them, mate. The loneliness is heavy this week. They don't need magic words. They just listen and steady you. After the call, you regulate yourself if you need to and continue your pattern. Key truth. Smart men don't sit and suffer in isolation. They build containers. The offshore brother check-in keeps your children from becoming the container for your unprocessed pain. You're not weak for needing that. You're smart for not letting pain leak where it can do the most damage. 5. The hitch completion ritual. The end of a hitch is a high-risk phase. You're exhausted and hungry for contact. But if you transition straight from the rig stress into emotionally pursuing contact with your children, the homecoming gets contaminated way before it even begins. The hitch completion ritual closes one chapter cleanly before you open the next one. How to apply. On your final night at work. 1. Name 3 things you're proud of. A. Sent all 14 microfragments. B. Stuck to 72-hour mental resets. C. Didn't panic text when they remained quiet. 2. One thing you're leaving on the rig. A. The hurt from Tuesday's ignored call. B. The anger from that short reply. C. Anxiety because you missed their birthday. 3. One intention for shore leave. A. Stay calm and lighthearted. B. No pain talks for the first 3 days. C. Let them set the mood. Write it on paper, fold it, and either leave it in your bunk or bin it. Symbolically, the hitch ends there. Next morning, before you leave work, take a photo of your belongings shelf and send it. Heading home. I'll see you soon. When you arrive, you begin your 24-hour decompression buffer and then the homecoming regulation walk. Key truth. Without structured endings, you drag your work stress, rejection pain, and offshore exhaustion straight into your children's space. The hitch completion ritual keeps that weight where it belongs, out there. You arrive as the man you want to be, not the emotional wreck the rig sometimes turns you into. Now, here's a closing drill called the Homecoming Regulation Walk. The purpose: to stabilize your nervous system before reconnecting after you've been working away so you approach your children in a calm, grounded manner. This drill pulls together Tool 4, Decompression Protocol. Tool 9, Rejection Immunity. Resilient Practice 1, 72-hour reset. Resilient Practice 2, Identity Triad. Resilient Practice 5, Hitch Completion. You're proving to yourself, I can regulate before I act. The setup. On your first full day back on shore, inside the 24-hour decompression buffer after sleep and food. Duration, 20 to 25 minutes. Location, anywhere you can walk alone, neighborhood loop, park path, river, or seafront. What you need, just yourself. Turn your phone off or put it on silent. Conditions, no music, no podcast, no scrolling, just walking and breathing. Phase 1, walk and release. First 8 minutes. Start walking at a steady pace. Don't rush, but don't walk slow either. For the first 8 minutes, your job is to let the work stress leave your body. With each exhale, picture one piece of offshore weight dropping away like the diesel smell, engine noise, the bunk that never felt like home, frozen video calls, feeling guilty at 2 a.m. You're not analyzing anything. You're noticing and releasing. Quietly repeat this. I'm back home now. That work shift is behind me. I can concentrate on my children now. Let your feet fall in rhythm with the words. After 8 minutes, stop. Stand still for 30 seconds. Take 3 deep breaths. In for 4 and out for 6. Feel your feet on the non-moving ground. Lesson translation. You just practice not bringing work mode into home mode. Most fathers skip this. They arrive, take a shower, and go straight to their children while still wired, stressed, and hungry. You're learning. If I want to have positive interactions with my children, I have to leave work back on the oil rig. Phase 2. Walk and anchor. 8 minutes. Start walking again. Now your focus shifts to anchoring in the present. Notice the small details as you move, like the tree shapes, the color of the sky, the bird noises, cars, dogs, people. With each thing you notice, pair it with, I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready. You are teaching your body, this is home ground. It's not the rig deck. After 8 minutes, pause. Put your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Say, today, I approach my children with calmness, not urgency. Lesson translation. This phase separates your feelings from your behavior. You may still feel nervous or unsure, but you're choosing calm presentation. When you later sit beside your children at dinner or flip pancakes for them in silence, this is the energy you'll be carrying. Phase 3. Walk and commit. Final 8 minutes. The final stretch. While walking back home, think about the next 48 hours. Picture one simple, low-pressure moment with your kids that doesn't depend on them performing, like sitting side by side at dinner in silence, cooking pancakes while they scroll their phone, goalkeeping while they take all the penalties, walking the dog together, barely speaking. No breakthrough moment, no emotional dumping on them, just your steady presence. As you walk, repeat this. I show up, I stay steady, and I stay calm. That's what I do. When you reach home or the original starting point, stop. Take one deep breath, in for 4 and hold for 2, then out for 6. Then before the day ends, send one neutral text inviting the homecoming moment, like, I'm back home from work. Do you fancy some pancakes tomorrow morning? Back on shore. Let's play some football this weekend. You choose what time. Landed yesterday, I've fully rested. Let me know when you're free to meet up. Send it. Put the phone down and walk away. Lesson translation. You've moved from internal regulation to external action. You didn't text them while in panic or guilt mode. You sent a text while you were calm and grounded. That difference means everything. And over time, your children will feel that you are no longer trying to force closeness or making it uncomfortable for them when they're with you. You're simply staying available, calm, and steady. This says, Dad is safe, and being safe is how reconnection begins. And that's it for today. Fellas, just because you work far away from your children, that doesn't make you a visitor or a part-time dad. It makes you a father with constraints, and fathers with constraints must be more intentional, not less. Dad is working 200 miles away so his children can eat, have a roof over their heads, and play the computer games they love. That is not abandonment. That is provision. And provision is one part of fatherhood. But don't get me wrong, provision alone is never enough. Children need the micro-presence fragments. They need the rhythm calendar. They need the work window clips. They need the artifacts. They need the homecoming regulation walk. Children need evidence that even when the ocean stands between you and them, you're still thinking of them, still showing up for them. You're still their dad. This work is slow. It's repetitive. It requires discipline most men don't think they have, but you do, because you're still here. You're still learning and still regulating. The tools are in your hands now. Use them wisely. Send the daily fragment. Build the artifact exchange. Run the 72-hour offshore reset. When you land home after weeks or months working away, always regulate first before reaching out to your kids. I'll see you in Toolbox episode 5. But remember, once a dad, always a dad. This is support content only. It's not legal, medical, or mental health advice. If you feel unwell and need assistance, contact your local emergency services immediately.